I do want to start with Kerry football. I got this news a little bit later than everybody else, put it in our WhatsApp. Tommy goes, welcome to 12 hours ago. And you were quite taken aback by the whole fact that...
It was real.
That this has happened.
Yeah.
For a start. Who is Donie Buckley, for anybody who's not familiar? Because the influence of coaches, we know from different teams. We knew a little bit about what Jason Sherlock was doing. We knew a little bit about various other coaches down through the years. But Donie Buckley was kind of very important with the growth and development of the Kerry team.
He's like a sage when it comes to coaching, really. He's worked with club teams, he's worked with county teams. He started off and really made, not started off, but he made his profile on a really big level when he started working with Mickey Ned O'Sullivan's Limerick team. Remember all the near misses when Limerick had become sort of a real kind of third power within Munster. He was part of that movement, taking him to a whole new level. Went in with Kerry then under Jack O'Connor in 2011. Obviously come within a whisker of winning the All-Irelands. Whatever happens the next year, he ends up leaving. I don't think that was in too great circumstances. I'm not sure, was it Jack's decision, was it Donie's decision, was it other members of the staff's decision? Either way, he leaves, and then Mayo pick him up. And it's almost the Mayo era that actually makes Donie Buckley, because sometimes you get a bit angsty about something you can't have, especially if it's somebody in your own back garden who is doing amazing things with a county. And like Mayo 2012 to 2017 is the best Mayo team since 1951. Like it's the second best team of this era, when the best team is the greatest team of all time. So they're not bad. And like what he actually does with the players, like it's a far different role to say someone like Jason Sherlock will be doing, who is kind of very front of house, but is very much involved in how the game actually operates minute by minute. Donie Buckley would be sitting up in the stands while the game is like developing, and he would be straight out of the park after the game, wouldn't hang around too long afterwards. His work is done on the training ground, and it is skills development. It is, in terms of what he's been doing for the last 18 months with Kerry, it is understood that their tackling in particular is the one thing he has worked on. It is their defensive system is something that Alan Dillon has spoken at length about when it came to his work with Mayo, and then he has a strong knowledge of strength and conditioning as well, but that is not his sole role. So this is a huge, huge blow for Kerry, because this time last year, obviously, there was a lot of stuff written about Kerry. There was a lot of disagreements had about whether or not Kerry were well set defensively or not. I thought they were very well set defensively. They put in a fantastic shift in the Alliance League, where they conceded the least of any team in the Alliance League in Division 1, whereas this year they've gone from number 1 to joint 7th, bottom. Out on their own at the bottom, I should say. They've got only Leitrim and London have conceded more points than Kerry this year in the league. So there have been questions asked over the last few weeks and months as to what's actually going on. And the rumour mill started to develop there over about 4 weeks ago, when I'd heard that Donie Buckley perhaps wasn't getting the time he needed with the players, or perhaps hadn't come back in with the Kerry team yet. But it was a situation of wait a while, he'll come back in. He often spends the winter in the States. He will come back in. And then all of a sudden this comes out at the weekend, and you realise that actually, no, things weren't right all along. So you can say that he was pushed, you can say that it was his decision to leave, but it seems that in the Irish Examiner this morning they've got information that he wasn't wanted in the camp anymore. Did he want too much time with the players that he wasn't being given? That might make sense, but I'm sure that we're not going to hear too much about this from official sources within Kerry GAA. They declined to comment over the course of the weekend.
Donie Buckley was removed as coach and selector of the Kerry senior football team, the Examiner understands. Sources close to the camp say despite tensions in recent months, Buckley had been planning for Friday's training session when he was told he would not be part of the management team going forward. That's pretty clear.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's hard to know why that would be the case, because of the, I would say, profound impact he has had on a group of defenders that had improved, I thought, over the course of last year. You can see a drop-off this year already. Now, we don't know if that's because of him not being around, whether it's because of other reasons. It's easy to just focus on one guy.
They're pointing out, obviously, that Moynihan last week was talking about this in the podcast. He queried the amount of input. I think Donie Buckley is unbelievable. I'd like to see him given more time with the players. He turned Mayo, who were one of the easiest teams to walk through because they didn't want to know about tackling, into one of the best in the country. That was down to his training and his ethos. We have the power up front. We have some unbelievable forwards. We just need to tighten up. When we go up 8 points, we're not certain we're going to win the game. That shouldn't be the case.
See, that was the talk of the county. It was, we need Buckley working with the players more. That was the tone over the last few weeks. Give it time. He will be allowed more time with them as the weeks develop. I did not actually expect it to reach this point. It's very unusual, because surely Peter Keane realises what he's done, and this is an unbelievable asset you have. A good manager gets the best out of his assets.
I mean, like, if you're the manager and you don't feel like you're getting your message through and somebody has a blockage to that, you've got to do what you think is the right... Peter Keane hasn't done something here that he thinks is the wrong decision for Kerry. He's done what he thinks is the right decision.
Without question.
Whether or not it is the big thing. Like,
it's time will tell. And I'm sure Peter Keane, as a manager, is as stubborn as you can get as a manager. That's what makes him great. That's what's made him a very successful businessman and a successful football coach. Was there crossing of wires here? Were there loggerheads over certain things? Definitely. That's definitely what's happened here. And like, if Peter Keane wasn't...
Is Jack O'Connor on the phone this morning going, here, listen...
Well, as I said, I doubt it.
Let's get the band back together here.
But we don't know what happened in 2012. Like, did they leave on in good terms?
It says he left. He left, and the Examiner anyway are saying.
But he goes straight in with a job at Mayo at the end of that calendar year in 2012. So it's not like he was looking for a break from football. Mayo picked up the phone to him and was like, yeah, I'll jump ship and I'll go to you. So something happened there with Jack O'Connor. We don't know what.
The lads should watch the two bills where Belichick and Parcells eventually come back together and go, oh, look, we loved each other all along, but we had this period of time where we were away and we made friends. They've had their period of time. Think of, restoring, if that partnership could be reunited. What a great story that would be, Eoin.
Well, it would be fantastic. Like, Jack O'Connor is supposed to be, is seen as a great man manager, as a great motivator. And now you've got a great coach who's available. Bring him in and let him do the coaching. Don't worry about instilling a certain array of skills in your players. Let Donie Buckley come in and do that. I think that would be.
He chose to step away before 2012. It says in Fogarty's piece.
I don't doubt that, but this is bad news for Kerry, no question about it. But Peter Keane wouldn't be who he is by letting himself roll over and not doing what he believes in. So I'm sure he believes he's doing the right thing here.
Okay, you think this damages Kerry?
I think so. Yeah, I don't think this is good news whatsoever. I think this is a huge blow to their credentials as All-Ireland champions, potentially.